Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Dan Clark. We are now at the end of Governor Kathy Hochul's self-imposed transition period. When she was sworn in, Hochul said she would take 45 days to get settled and then run with it. And it has been a busy past 45 days. Hochul's had to deal with a mass transit crisis in New York City, historic flooding that killed more than a dozen people, the new school year, and of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. And during all of that, she's hired new staff, shook up her cabinet, and started to plan her agenda for next year. But Hochul also has a tough few months ahead in what will be another test of her ability to govern. 400 bills passed by the legislature are waiting to be signed. She has 3 months to figure out the state's $200 billion budget, and she also has a legislative agenda to build for next year. And that could get pretty messy if the race for governor continues to heat up. We've already got a handful of Democrats who might jump in. And while behind the scenes, next year's race is probably on her mind, she's not getting into that publicly just yet.
People want to start chatter and conversations and all kinds of distractions early on before we get closer to an election. I will not be distracted because that is not good for the people of New York if I'm out there running down and trying to respond to it. I don't even know what people are saying in that space because that's not relevant to protecting the safety of New Yorkers.
So let's get a sense of the governor's first 45 days and what's to come with Jimmy Vielkind from the Wall Street Journal and Marina Villeneuve from the Associated Press. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it feels weird to me that it's only been 45 days because a lot has happened in that 45 days. And of course, before the 45 days, we had Governor Cuomo. So I guess the past 2 months to me just feels like it's been 3 years. But let's talk about the 45 days of Governor Hochul. Jimmy, what stood out to you about her so far in terms of what she's done, maybe differences between her and her predecessor?
Well, I think that she very clearly and concertedly wanted to set a different tone than the last guy. I think that she's talked a lot about, and we've seen demonstrated collaboration with legislators, with local elected officials as she's moved through policy. She has engaged stakeholders before sort of announcing big changes. And I think the most significant things she's done are a mask mandate for schools, which took effect when classrooms opened in early September, as well as holding firm on the previously announced mandate for healthcare workers to be vaccinated against the coronavirus. That is something for which she faced lots of pressure. It's something for which we have seen some disruptions in the healthcare system, but Hochul has held firm, and I believe it's now a policy that she's going to own, and I expect is going to be something that she will see as probably her first big mark as governor.
And she's already said that not too many hospitals have reached out to get state assistance in terms of staffing, because she did do an executive order saying students can jump in and help out, and retired physicians and out-of-state, National Guard, things like that. I am surprised there haven't been more, but I guess we'll see. This is only the first wave of, as we call it, of this kind of mandate. Marina, what about you? What stood out to you in the first 45 days?
Yeah, I think we've definitely seen a concerted push to get out the COVID rent relief and relief for undocumented workers as well. The governor said yesterday that pretty soon, like $800 million of rent relief money will have gone out, and that's out of $2 billion. There's still a lot of big issues with the program itself. I've spoken to a lot of tenants and landlords who say one big issue is that it's really hard for some reason for the state to be able to contact landlords to ask them to fill out more info. And the landlords I've spoken to say that seems like something that's pretty easy. So they're really hoping that the administration will be able to do that to get more money out, because right now there's a lot of money that's committed but not going anywhere. We've also seen her talk a lot about transparency and speeding up the process for getting public records to the public who've requested them. I personally have gotten some FOIL requests that have been out there for well over a year, some of them, but a lot of others are still sort of being extended, and I'm not getting responses on. So it seems to be a mixed bag, but it's something that she's really stressing.
Yes, I have filed my first FOIL request. I filed it, I don't know, I said it on the show whenever I filed it, so I guess look back at the episodes. And I haven't gotten a response yet in terms of, I haven't got my answers. It was a very simple one, so I guess we'll see. Jimmy, that's an interesting question to pose to you. You covered Andrew Cuomo during his entire tenure as governor. It's only been 45 days for Kathy Hochul, but how do we see the government transparency part playing out? Because obviously, I think that has to be a big part of her administration if she's going to really contrast with Cuomo and his numbers on the nursing homes.
You know, we have seen more data being made public. The health department has made explicit a more fuller death toll, the numbers that are being reported by the state to the CDC, which include greater figures. And Marina did a lot of great reporting on that over the summer.
Yeah.
We've also seen new data on breakthrough infections being published. I think that any gubernatorial administration is going to talk about transparency and say it values transparency, and then still have some level of tactical positioning to ensure its own benefit. I don't think we're ever going to see a level of transparency that perhaps you get sometimes at a smaller local level, or that we as reporters would perhaps like to see. I have noticed an increase in responsiveness in my reporting over the last 45 days compared to the last administration. But I think it's still a little bit too early to tell.
Yeah.
But the signs have been trending positive from where I sit.
So Marina, we have a very busy schedule ahead for the governor. She has to plan her agenda for next year. She has to put together a budget. What are you watching for in the next few months in terms of the Hochul administration? For your reporting, obviously, but what are the interesting things that you're looking at?
Definitely, we know that the budget process is already underway with state agencies readying their proposals and their spending plans. I'm definitely looking to see how much more money that New York or the federal government might be sending in COVID relief. We know that the undocumented worker fund, the excluded workers fund that's providing COVID assistance has been is set to run out of money by the end of October. And originally, advocates have been pushing for as much as $3.5 billion, and lawmakers ended up passing about $2 billion. So there's a lot of need out there, and a lot of more people are qualifying for like the top level of aid, the $15,000 figure, which has meant that fewer people are getting the assistance than originally estimated. And the governor's also requested more funding from the feds for rent relief.
Right.
And that'll be interesting to see how that works out. If you look at how much money New York has set aside and spent on rent relief, New York is the top in the nation. But when it comes to how much New York has actually spent, it's still in the top 10. But it's sort of up in the air whether New York is going to get extra money.
Right, exactly. I think that she's hoping for the rent relief part that other states haven't spent it, so that maybe we can collect some of their unspent funds, which would be really interesting to me. Jimmy, last question to you. In about a minute, you follow these numbers very closely in terms of the state's finances. Going into the next budget, well, not the budget year, but going into the next calendar year when she puts together her executive budget, what kind of challenges is Kathy Hochul facing?
She's in the money. The state is actually swimming in cash.
We're flush.
Yes, which is a very, very good place to be if you're an official who's up for re-election in 2022. It's always easier to spend money than to have to cut things back. So I'll be watching to see how the governor approaches this budget cycle and approaches this upcoming legislative season. For what will her initiatives be? What we've seen thus far is the continuation of some of the last guy's initiatives, changes over time, responses to natural disasters and to the ongoing pandemic. I'll be interesting to see where Kathy Hochul wants to put her stamp and come up with an idea. And I'm sure that expenditures and policy we'll be hearing more about in December and January.
I'm excited to see it. Jimmy Vielkind from the Wall Street Journal, Marina Villeneuve from the AP. Thank you both so much.